Good evening, I'm Ryan Bonazzo. Thank you for joining us. It's been a week since the provincial government announced its intention to implement a vaccine passport for Ontario residents, but officials with the Lakehead Social Planning Council are concerned that a significant portion of those living below the poverty line may not have proper access. Starting September 22nd, proof of COVID-19 vaccination will be required to access non-essential businesses across the province, including gyms, indoor restaurants, movie theaters, casinos, and concert halls. Ontario is also working on establishing a personalized QR code for vaccinated people, which they can scan on their mobile device when entering public places. Those who don't own a cell phone will be expected to provide government-issued identification alongside a paper copy of the passport. But Bonnie Crisawati, a social researcher for the Lakehead Social Planning Council, says while a paper version of the passport may be helpful, it comes with other complications.
You know, the paper copies would be helpful, but for people that aren't able to keep track or take care of a paper copy and have a cell phone, they'll be left without a passport until something else is planned by the government for them. Unless you have something that is across the province for every business and organization, there will be people left out of, being able to go into certain locations.
The LSPC is invested in finding a solution for underprivileged groups in the region. The Ontario government says it would like to establish a process to prove vaccination status for people without email, a health card, or ID, but those plans haven't yet been released. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit today is reporting 6 new COVID-19 cases over the long weekend. 5 of the infections come from the Thunder Bay area. The other is in a First Nation community. 2 cases are related to travel outside of northwestern Ontario. 2 others are close contact cases, and 2 exposure sources are still unknown at this time. There are now 11 active cases across the district. The Northwestern Health Unit is also reporting 6 new cases. There are 2 cases each in the Kenora and Sioux Lookout regions, while the Dryden Red Lake and Rainy River areas have 1 case apiece. There are now 8 active cases across the NWHU catchment area. On the vaccination front here in the Thunder Bay District, just over 2,600 people rolled up their sleeves last week. About 1,200 of those were first doses. That number is up substantially from the week before when just 700 people got their first shot. According to the health unit, more than 82% of eligible residents have now received at least 1 dose, and 74% are fully vaccinated. However, the Ministry of Health, which uses a different population data set for the region, continues to report higher numbers. It shows that 81% of eligible people have received both shots. Meanwhile, there are 564 new cases of COVID-19 across the province today. 434 of those are in people who aren't fully vaccinated or have an unknown vaccination status. Well, it was an exciting day for kids and parents, with most of the country kicking off the start of a new school year.
I'm excited to get to see all my friends.
Us as parents, we're super excited that they're back, and hopefully they can stay inside.
Many parents across this province were glad to see an end to online learning, but there's also some anxiety and uncertainty due to the 4th wave of the pandemic. Ontario's top doctor reassured parents regarding the extensive safety protocols in schools. Dr. Kieran Moore says we will see outbreaks, but the risk to kids is still low.
7% of the time when a child got COVID-19, the virus actually spread within the social circumstances, in the home or after school activities. Only 7% of the time was the school the source for the infection, and the remaining percentage, around 6%, was in daycare settings, preschool, after school. So I am confident that the school setting itself is safe. We've put in many precautions. We will see outbreaks, we will see activity in the schools, but they basically reflect what's going on in the community.
We'll have more on the return to the classroom here in our city in just a few moments. Meanwhile, the local activist group Not One More Death is weighing in on a makeshift homeless encampment that's stirring controversy at County Fair Mall. Mayor Bill Morrow is convening a special meeting on the situation tomorrow. Not One More Death member Kate Rooks says the people using the former gas bar need adequate services and proper sanitation, and they may not feel safe at local shelters.
These people require an adequate solution, And like I said, we know there aren't enough shelter spaces. The waitlist for housing can be years long. And it's important to recognize that only the people using a service or a space can determine whether it's safe. Safety is subjective. It's not up to it cannot be something that's decided by government service providers or police. It's up to the individuals using that service to determine whether they feel safe there.
The area of concern at County Fair Mall has been the subject of complaints from shoppers and mall ownership for some time. It's not part of the mall property, and city officials are trying to work with the owner to address the issue. According to Rooks, the focus needs to be driven toward having public health and safety experts and advocates tackle the situation in order to find a solution.
It's important not to rely on police and business owners when it comes to matters of public health and community safety. So ultimately, this isn't an issue of protecting private property, or it shouldn't be. It's a matter of keeping human beings alive. They shouldn't be involved in public health, and they protect private property first and foremost, and that shouldn't be the main focus here.
Rooks adds that demolishing the gas bar shelter isn't necessarily the solution either. Rather, she says the systems that contribute to homelessness in our city should be dismantled. A 20-year-old woman has been charged with assault causing bodily harm following an apparent stabbing in Northwood yesterday evening. Thunder Bay police say the incident occurred around 5:45 in the Limbrick Street area. The female victim was taken to hospital for treatment of her injuries. The accused was located and arrested a short time later. She appeared in bail court today and was released with conditions. We continue our local coverage of the federal election campaign now with a look at another candidate in the Thunder Bay Rainy River riding. The NDP's Yuksem Wan is one of two people back on the ballot for a second time. She's hoping to turn the riding orange once again and close a 6-year gap since John Rafferty held the seat for the New Democrats. Corey Nordstrom has more on that.
Yuksem Wan garnered just under 30% of the votes in the 2019 election. The NDP candidate for Thunder Bay Rainy River is strongly against this election in what she calls a power grab by Justin Trudeau, though Wan did plan on running again in the natural election cycle in 2023.
If they want me to have a shot at the job now, I'm here for it, and I'm here for the people, making sure they know that I'm still here to give them voice, to represent the North, and not just have a whole bunch of empty promises and not show up.
Wan has stayed active in the community as much as she can through the pandemic in an effort to relay local voices to party members in the House of Commons.
It's really about right across Canada having that input of what's going on, feet on the ground. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Even for 2 years, we didn't get out into the communities, but we still had connections. And that to me is important, to provide that information, whether I'm an MP or not.
As she looks to improve upon her third-place finish from 2019, she knows that what voters want will need to remain at the forefront of her thought process. With a riding that spans almost 40,000 square kilometers, she wants those in government to remember that rural voices matter just as much as those in cities.
Things I think that I want to ensure is that the North has a voice, that the people, our resources, things like healthcare and recovery for tourism, that we're not forgotten, right? That they understand that the North has been incredibly hard hit during the pandemic.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
The federal election campaign has had a toxic feel to it, specifically with recent incidents at campaign events for Liberal leader Justin Trudeau. But there are incidents closer to home as well. A Kenora riding candidate is speaking out after she says she was groped while campaigning in the region. In a tweet posted on Sunday, NDP candidate Janine Seymour said she was shaken by the incident. Seymour is now speaking out after seeing a similar tweet from a female candidate in Kitchener about unwanted sexual advances and realizing she isn't alone. Seymour hopes this will make others aware of this nonpartisan issue and warn other candidates and their teams about what is happening out on the campaign trail during this election cycle.
We don't want anybody to be unsafe, anybody on our team, anybody on another team, any other candidates, and we don't want anybody to experience anything harmful to happen while we're out campaigning, which is part of the process. Things happen, right? And you have to learn how to cope with that in a good way. In a good way, I mean a way that I don't carry it. Personally, I actually went to Wabigoon powwow, and that was very healing for me.
Seymour says in the aftermath of the incident, she reached out to Kenora Conservative candidate Eric Melillo to stand in solidarity on the issue. In a statement, Melillo says he was, quote, horrified to hear of this incident and that no one should be subjected to that kind of behavior. Liberal candidate David Bruno also called it, quote, shocking and appalling, calling the behavior un-Canadian. And Green candidate Remy Rout says, quote, this form of behavior should never be tolerated within a just society. Well, to happier news now, there's been a high level of anticipation for this day from kids and parents across the Thunder Bay area. It's the first day of school, and kids are back in the classroom for the first time since February. Here's Danielle Bain with more on the start of the new school year.
After enduring virtual learning for the final 4 months of the past school year, local classrooms are back open, as close to normal as possible. And the kids at St. Francis School were itching to be back for so many different reasons.
I was really excited for seeing everybody, and I was waiting, and when I was at my house I was like, could I just go, and my mom was like, but you have to give me a hug first.
I was really excited because we would get away from the computer, get to do work on a sheet of paper instead of online.
St. Francis principal Anita Trish says it was an incredible first day seeing her students in person after months of being the virtual principal. Although the feelings of excitement were felt throughout the school, there is one thing she wants to focus on the most.
We're talking to kids about how they're feeling, what they went through, what we can do to help them. We're really talking about our well-being and mental health of our children, and that's our #1 focus priority.
As COVID-19 cases start to rise in this area, Trish wants to continue to be strict with daily screening and other health protocols in place.
Children are wearing their masks inside, and the sanitizing protocols are continuing. And we did an awesome job last year. We had no outbreaks at our school, and we're wishing for the same this year as well.
Another issue schools may be dealing with this year is the ongoing school bus driver shortage. 3 bus routes serving multiple schools had to be canceled for the entire week. Student Transportation Services Manager Craig Murphy says that this has been a problem for many years, but he says the situation is already looking better than last year.
We have many more drivers available than we did last year, but unfortunately the bus companies only have so many spare drivers. So while there are bus drivers assigned to all the routes this year, gratefully, unfortunately they don't have enough spare drivers to cover all the routes.
Murphy urges parents and guardians to keep an eye on their website or download the Bus Status app for notifications on cancellations or delays, and keep a contingency plan just in case. Danielle Bain, TBT News.
Yeah, there are challenges to be sure, but Avery, good to see the kids back.